This is a code walkthrough for the example file PrintExamples.java. This file contains examples of various things you can do with the standard command line output commands print and println above and beyond those discussed in the lecture materials. So let's open this up in JGrasp and take a look. As always, let's start by compiling this, and it compiles just fine. Next, let's set a breakpoint so that we can single step through this with the debugger and take a close look at what's going on. So we'll set a breakpoint by clicking in the margin to the left of main, and now we can start single stepping it with the debugger. So as always, we're setting up a couple of local variables, a string, an int, and a char, and we're also setting up a scanner object to take in user input. Now in this first example, we're showing how you might go about setting up a multi-line text prompt. Suppose you've got a list of options. One way to keep it organized and neatly presented on the page is to break it up over multiple lines like this using string concatenation and embedded \n characters so that it prints out on separate lines. Setting it up this way makes it very easy to maintain and extend, because if you have to add some options later, you can easily splice them into this list. Now this next example shows the difference between string and numeric literals and the corresponding variables. So here we're printing out a string literal using the print command, and notice that the cursor is positioned right after that text. And we'll follow that up by printing out an integer literal. Now we'll do the same thing, except we'll add one level of redirection. We'll set that string object variable equal to the same text. We'll set the integer variable equal to the same value, and now instead of printing some hardwired literals, we're printing out the corresponding variables instead. So the answer is 42. This probably represents the way we ought to be aiming for when we write our programs, rather than hardwiring prints like this. In this next example, notice that we can also use the print commands to print out separators, which are helpful to make our output a little more visually organized. So here we'll print out a separator line. Here we're going to print out a blank line. You can put a blank line in your output just by using println with no inputs. And this is going to give us a double blank line, one for the println and one for the embedded \n. And actually jump down by 2 lines. And there's another separator character. Here's another example of something we can do with printing. We can embed control characters into a string, such as we see here. This is going to kick it down 1 line. These 2 tabs are going to insert blank space around the text that says blank space, and this trailing \n will kick it down 1 more line. So when we print that out, here's what we get. This blank space around this text is coming from these \t's. So these are things that you can do to play around with and manipulate the form of your output. Here's where we'll use that multi-line prompt. We'll print it out, and notice we've got it nicely spread over multiple lines, and that came from these \n characters in the original prompt string. Now what we're trying to do here is we're trying to read in a single character, but we want to read it in normalized as uppercase. So what we're going to do here, let's say that we enter the following text: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Carriage return. Step forward, and we'll print out what we got, and we got a capital A. So how did this work? It worked because of this long tangled expression using multiple dot notation, but it's really not so bad if you look at it step by step, left to right. This is the scanner object, and it's reading the next line of text. So this is a string. We're applying 2 uppercase to that string to turn it into uppercase, and then this itself is a string, and we're going to slice off the first character with a char at 0. So this entire expression reduces to one single char, which we assign to user option, which is what we're printing out here. Finally, this is something we didn't show in the lecture materials, but if you have the need to terminate a program on command, you can issue a command like this, another static method of the system class. So if we execute that, our program's done, and we're never going to see this print line afterwards. So in summary, this file should give you some examples of various things you can do with the command line output print commands and how to go about nicely formatting them on the page.